Last 5 seconds. Ready, start. As far as the clarity of the language used in section 7(1) third proviso, there does not appear to be any ambiguity, and what Parliament intended is completely free from doubt. The only area where any ambiguity can be said to exist is the effect of the application being treated as withdrawn. The further aspect which is to be borne in mind is the circumstances in which the legislation is created. It is here that the mischief, rule, and the aspect of public interest looms large. At the end of the day, the tussle is between the individual right versus the public interest. Now, public interest is a concept which is capable of embracing within its scope the interest of different sections of public. This would include the sections of the public to which the applicant himself belongs. Public interest would undoubtedly also encompass the economy of the country, which can be understood in terms of all the objects for which the code was enacted. They would include the speed with which the code is worked. It would include also safeguarding the interests of all the stakeholders. This may necessarily include the corporate debtor as a stakeholder being protected from applications which are perceived as frivolous or not representing a critical mass. A financial creditors covered by the third proviso was clothed with a statutory right under the unamended section 7. This right was available to be exercised by an individual creditor by himself or jointly with others even prior to the amendment. The imposition of a threshold requirement under the first two provisos inserted in section 171 by the amendment being a mandatory and irreducible minimum even if it is to be achieved as and after the date of the amendment constitutes an intrusion into the substantive right of action which stood vested in the individual creditor prior to the amendment. The action of the creditor was not a completed transaction as regards his conduct in the past, viz. Moving under section 7 it is incomplete, but the action was commenced, but the law, the third proviso, impairs the past action qua the future. This is a case where the law in question is retrospective. Imposing the threshold requirement under the third proviso is not a mere matter of procedure. It impairs vested rights. It has conditioned the right instead in the manner provided in the first and the second proviso. The first and second proviso operate only in the future, that is, prospectively. In that sense, the legislature has purported to equate persons who had not filed applications with persons like the petitioners who had filed the applications under the unamended law. All the applicants affected by the third proviso share the common characteristics of being applicants in applications which were not admitted. In fact, most of the applications would appear to have been filed in the year 2019. Inquiring further into the different stages in these applications would go against the principle that the court does not look to mathematical nicety or perfection in the law. The court also bears in mind the principle that the law is in economic measure. Since withdrawal of applications affected thereby is ordained by the third proviso to section 7(1) of the code, such withdrawal does not qualify as withdrawal under Rule 8 of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Application of Adjudicating Authority Rules 2016 on request. It is held that withdrawal under the third proviso to section 7(1) of the code would not bar a fresh application by the same party on the same cause of action after complying with the provisions of the first or second proviso, as the case may be, on the same default. Stop.